So over the weekend I did a video focusing on Father's Day, classy fragrances for dads or anyone that wants to gift a father a classy masculine fragrance. In that video I featured Tobacco Reserve from Aramis. And I thought, you know what, I have all three of the latest men's fragrances from Aramis. Why don't I do a preview video focusing on these three fragrances, which includes Modern Leather, of course Tobacco Reserve, and then finally Special Blend. So if you want to find out about these fragrances, the three of them from Aramis, please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today I'm talking about Aramis. It's a house that I was familiar with from my dad when he was wearing fragrances when I was very young. So this house means a lot to me because some of his favorite fragrances, my dad's favorite fragrances, were from Aramis. And recently I did a video focusing on some of the classics such as 900, the original Aramis, Devon, Tuscany Peruomo, and a few others. Of course, Havana is there as well. So if you haven't caught that video and you're curious to learn about those classic fragrances, do tune in and watch them. But today it's all about the three latest men's fragrances targeted to men. Of course, these are more masculine fragrances and I really enjoy one of them. Actually, two of them are really great. One of them is okay, and I'll tell you all about these three. But before we do that, if this is your first time tuning in and you still haven't subscribed to my channel, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So Aramis, as I said, has been a fragrance house that's been near and dear to my heart, especially because my dad wore a lot of those fragrances, including the original Aramis, which was from the 60s. And again, that video that I did focusing on their classics, you should definitely watch it if you're more curious about this house. But a lot of the fragrances my dad wore, and I actually was wearing several of them myself, including New West and Havana in the late 80s and early 90s with the Havana. And so those are the fragrances that I really love. But these three fragrances are newer, dating back to 2017 for the Modern Leather, 2018 for the Tobacco Reserve, and then finally 2019 for the Special Blend. And so I thought, you know what, let's do it. These were 50 bucks approximately from various discounters online. I have links in the info box. And they're not a 100 ml bottle, they're 110 ml bottles. So you're getting an extra 10 mils of juice for about 50 bucks. So the pricing is really great for these because they're at the discounters. Macy's does sell Tobacco Reserve. I didn't find the other two there. But although I had seen Special Blend there several weeks ago, because that's when I bought these, like almost a month ago to a couple of weeks ago. And now it's not there. So I'm assuming Special Blend and Modern Leather are not doing as well as Tobacco Reserve. That's probably why Macy's has kept it. But this is pretty much the only one out of the latest fragrances. And there were only a couple of the classics, including the original Aramis. So first let's start off with Modern Leather. This came out in 2017. It is about $50 for a 110 ml bottle. And then for notes here, we've got at the top Basil, Thyme, in the heart Geranium and Patchouli. In the base, you've got leather and Oakmoss. So not a lot going on. Of course, it is a leather fragrance. It's called Modern Leather, and it focuses on leather. But for me, this one's very herbal. It's not a leather like Tuscan Leather. It's not a leather like fucking Fabulous from Tom Ford or any of those others like Godolphin, anything like that. It's not like that at all. This one is a very aromatic leather, whereas I guess the comparison would be this one's more aromatic and woody, whereas the Tuscan Leather and things like that kind of go more into the slightly animalic territory, and some end up in animalic territory. But here it's more a leather that's very, very aromatic, which is actually great because it makes it a little easier to wear rather than sometimes wearing leather fragrances like Tuscan Leather. If you go into a job, you know, with people, it might be a little more complicated to wear something intense like that, whereas this one, I find it to be a little easier and a little classier to wear, and you can get away with wearing things like this at a job type situation. Just be careful because these are potent fragrances, because these are all eau de parfum concentrations and they might kind of offend some people, but in comparison to something like Tuscan Leather or any of those kind of leathers, this is a lot easier to wear, in my if it was me, I find it to be a lot easier. And I think because of those lighter herbal and green aromatic notes that come with it. Don't get me wrong, again, these are a stronger concentration compared to the recent Aramis reformulated classics, but just that whole aromatic quality just gives it a little more uplifting and lighter quality to it. I like this one a lot. I like the greenness about it. Out of the bottle, it doesn't smell much like what I remember wearing when I was wearing it and testing it out. But what I like about it, it does become leathery in the end. And then it also has this very, very green quality to it. So I guess they're using some green herbs, basil and thyme, geranium even. And so the combination of that basil, thyme, and geranium are all very aromatic. And then after that, the patchouli comes in and it gets more denser with the leather and oak moss. So that's what's going on with this one. I like this one a lot. It is not my favorite out of the three. I'll tell you my favorite as soon as I'm talking about it. But this one is my second favorite out of all. So this is Modern Leather, and that came out in 2017. One more thing to say about this particular leather. I feel like this leather is more, I'm not saying they're the same, but more along the line of the leathers from Memo Paris versus like the Tuscan leather and those kind of fragrances from Tom Ford. Even though Estee Lauder owns Aramis and also Tom Ford, in the end, the whole aromatic concoction or combination in here with the leather takes it to a more Memo Paris-like leather rather than this very dense and industrial, heavy-smelling leather with the Tuscan leather and things like that. Anyway, Modern Leather from Aramis, a great scent actually. It's just I prefer one over the other more, and that happens to be my number 2 favorite out of the 3. And the next one we're going to talk about is Tobacco Reserve, and this is the one I featured in my Classy Fragrances video over the weekend, and that's why it would be there, because it's very classy to me. It's a tobacco that's, once again, I'm going to compare it to Tom Ford, Tobacco Vanille. I guess, for me, it has slight smokiness to it in comparison to the very ashy, smoky Tobacco Vanille, because Tobacco Vanille has, even Tobacco Oud has like a very burned, ashy, smoky tobacco quality to it. Here, once again, I find this one to be a very aromatic tobacco. Just like the leather, it's very aromatic. But before I tell you all about this one, this was launched in 2018. Again, the price is a 110 ml bottle for about $50 at the discounters currently, and it's EDP Eau de Parfum concentration. But what we have for notes at the top is Clary Sage and Black Currant. So there is a little fruity touch at the top. In the heart, there's tobacco, nutmeg, and Orris. Orris is from the iris. And in the base, we've got tonka beans and oak moss. So there is a slight sweet gourmandish quality about this, and I feel like it's coming from not only that black currant at the top, with the slight fruitiness, the butteriness from the Orris in conjunction with the nutmeg, which is a spice obviously, and then the tonka in the base. So all throughout it, the top, the heart, and the base, you have something slight gourmandish running throughout it. And in contrast with tobacco, I feel like this is great. This is my favorite out of the 3. I absolutely love it. I love tobacco fragrances, and this one does not disappoint. It's great. I like that whole slightly sweet, slightly tobacco kind of contrast happening here, which is great because in the end, it's not as sweet as something like Tobacco Vanille, where it's like an ultra sweet. Loads of vanilla here. We don't have vanilla here at all, but there is some light vanilla qualities in there. But it's not from. It's not coming from vanilla. It's mostly from the tonka, and that sweetness also has a slight bit nuttiness as well, almost like almonds, because tonka beans tend to sometimes smell a little bit like almonds. But it's a great, great scent. This is so good. Absolutely great. There is a little bit of a balsamic resinous quality in there as well. I don't know where that's coming from. Perhaps it's coming from the Oakmoss in combination with the tonka, but in the end, it's great. It's a great, great tobacco. It's a tobacco scent that's very classy. Now, if I was comparing it once again with Tobacco Vanille, I don't find Tobacco Vanille to be classy, but here the end result is very, very classy. Like, it's masculine, it's sophisticated, it's just the right amount of sweetness with the bitterness of everything else. It works great, and I can see why this is still selling at Macy's, because in the end, Modern Leather is not there, Special Blend is not there, but this one is, and I think there's a hype around this one, and people tend to like it, and I love it. And again, this is my favorite out of the 3, and I've already told you my second favorite, which is Modern Leather. And sadly, Special Blend is it falls flat a little bit for me, but that's Special Blend that came out last year. This one I have had some challenging times with. It's not a bad fragrance when you get past some stuff that's going on, but let me tell you all about it. This is again around $50 for about 110 ml bottle, and I did mention Macy's. I don't remember the Macy's price, but the Macy's price for Tobacco Reserve is around $100, but these were at the discounters for about $50, as I said. So if you're interested in these, I would suggest getting them. I'm not sure how long they'll stick around, but Tobacco Reserve is amazing. I would highly recommend that one for a great tobacco. Snatch up a bottle right now if you're looking for a great tobacco. This I think would be perfect in the fall. Just the right amount of sweetness for like a slightly warm, slightly cool day in the fall. Amazing, I think, for this one. But here with Special Blend, what we have at the top are bergamot, clary sage, cinnamon. In the heart you've got whiskey and Cypriol. In the base, cedar, cashmeran, ambertonic, which I'm assuming is like an ambergris molecule, a synthetic molecule, and then Tonka beans. This one, what's rubbing me the wrong way with this one? Something in here I think is not working great. The Cypriol note in here, and I think it's the Cypriol with, what was I going to say, whiskey or maybe the cashmeran, almost slightly goes into a sour direction. And I love sour fragrances, don't get me wrong, like sour lemons, tart, things like that. This is sour in a weird way, like sour dish rag almost. And I think that Cypriol is not the best kind of Cypriol that they're using here. Maybe it's the combination of the Cypriol with the whiskey. I don't know. I don't get much Boozy, a slight bit, not a lot. But something in here, just it rubs me the wrong way. So I don't want to wear it. I don't know. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, it's a blind buy. It's not 100% bad blind buy, but almost kind of going there. In the end, it does remind me a little bit of the original, a little bit, not a lot, of the original Aramis. And I think because of the fact that there's a little bit of muskiness in here, almost like castoreum is in here. I don't know if you guys know this note, castoreum. It's used to create a leathery accords. I discussed it in my leather fragrances video. And because of that, there's a little bit of leatheriness under here. And I feel like they are using castoreum or a synthetic form of castoreum. And castoreum tends to go a little bit sour for me. Anyway, so that whole combination I feel like is just not making out to be like the best fragrance for me, sadly. I don't know, maybe it's just my chemistry and the way I'm picking up the notes, but somebody out there might be a fan of it. But for me, when it touches my skin, it goes even more sour. And again, I'm not talking about citrus sour or tart. I'm talking about more like sour dish rag, you know, something that's gone bad smelling wise. But I don't know, maybe one of you might like this one, not me, but in the end it didn't really satisfy me. And again, it's not bad, it's just almost to the point of going bad that I don't want to wear it. I can wear it, but I have a little bit of a challenging time wearing it, if that makes sense. Anyway, that's Special Blend. That's the latest launch from Aramis for men. I don't know if they'll come out with something in 2020 with the pandemic going on, we'll see. But you know, I'm happy that they have these. I am going to continue looking around for more Aramis fragrances from the more recent years. Interesting to note also, when I was visiting either Spain or Portugal, there's a Spanish department store chain that was also in Portugal, had these fragrances in their department store, which is awesome because I can't really go to a department store here these days. I mean, Macy's obviously had it online, but I don't see these there. Whereas when I went to this department store in Spain, I think it was in Spain, Madrid, or Lisbon in Portugal, they had the whole collection there. Like, you know what, you can go into this department and sample all these Aramis fragrances. Sadly, they're not here, but maybe because we don't have an appetite or attraction to these kind of fragrances here, I don't know. But this was about 2.5 years ago that I was in Spain and Portugal, and that's where I experienced a lot of these fragrances. I think at that time Aramis Modern Leather was launched, and that one was there. But what I want to do is I want to go back in time further, go to see what they launched in 2016, 2015, maybe even 2014 if I can get my hands on them. But if you guys have been following these fragrances and you know what came before the Modern Leather, which would be 2016, let me know, put some comments down so I can find out. But so far I'm happy with these two. this being my favorite and this being my second favorite, I would wear both of these because they're great. Again, this one is a favorite of the two, but this one is not bad. It's almost very, very close to this one. And I like the greenness about that leather and the whole aromatic quality about it. But somebody out there is probably a fan of this. Let me know if you like it. And also let me know if you're, in general, are you a fan of Aramis fragrances? Do you like the classics? Do you like these new ones? And did you guys know that they are under Estee Lauder? And some of the Estee Lauder fragrances of the past were similar to the men's releases of Aramis. Estee Lauder ladies fragrances and the Aramis men's fragrances. And again, if you haven't caught that video I did recently about the classic Aramis fragrances, please do, because in that video I talk about some of the older men's fragrances from Aramis and their alternatives of ladies versions in Estee Lauder catalog of fragrances. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Otherwise, please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.